By the turn of the millennium, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater revolutionized the extreme sports genre with its arcade-style gameplay and easy pick-up-and-play controls. Its highly acclaimed sequel, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, kept the franchise at the top of the podium for nearly a decade. Around the same time, other skateboarding games like Thrasher Presents Skate and Destroy offered a more simulation-based approach, while others like MTV Sports Skateboarding featuring Andy McDonald and Street Skater 2 tried to make their mark, with mixed results. Sony Computer Entertainment saw an opportunity to release their own take on this rising genre, which also served as developer Shaba Games' debut title. And in the year 2000, Sony published Grind Session. My name is OneHip, and thanks for clicking on this video. I've been wanting to revisit this one for a long time, as I haven't played it since it was released, and many of you have asked for a retrospective on it recently. I found it fitting to see off the PS1 era for a little while with this game, before heading into the PS2 era and continuing to explore Rockstar's older titles, following on from my last video on Skate and Destroy. Was Grind Session a worthy competitor to the dominant Tony Hawk series, or was the game's skater's eye blind to the inevitable? This is Grind Session. Let's go. Shaba Games was a San Francisco-based game development studio, founded in September 1997 by 9 former Crystal Dynamics staff members, the same team behind Tomb Raider, Legacy of Kain, and Gex. Shaba would later develop Razor Freestyle Scooter in 2000, using the same engine as Grind Session. In 2001, they worked on Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX and the PlayStation 1 port of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, both released under Activision's O2 label. After being acquired by Activision in 2002, Shaba had worked on several titles, up until their closure on October 8, 2009. These included Wakeboarding Unleashed featuring Sean Murray, another Activision O2 title, Tony Hawk's Underground 2 Remix for PSP, and the 6th gen ports of Tony Hawk's Project 8. Grind Session had actually been in development long before the release of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater in 1999. The game's producer, Grady Hunt, met with one of Shaba's founders at a Sony event held around late 1997 and went into conversation about how a skateboarding game should look, feel, and play. Sony later commissioned Shaba Games to develop this upcoming PlayStation exclusive, which was also their debut title. Grind Session was released in North America on May 23, 2000, 9 months after Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and in Europe on August 25th. Although it had been in development longer and received generally favourable reviews upon release, comparisons to Tony Hawk were inevitable. Many critics labelled it a clone, with Daniel Erickson of Next Gen even writing at the time, and I quote, "If you've already played out Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, go pick up Street Skater 2, at least that plays differently." Ouch. If you've played the Tony Hawk games, you may think Grind Session feels very similar, but it has a few interesting features that makes this often forgotten gem more than just a copy. Grind Session's basic controls mirror Tony Hawk's Pro Skater for flips and grabs, but include a few key differences. Grinds still use the triangle button, though you have to hold it to keep sliding. Manuals are performed by pressing up or down twice, followed by triangle, and as far as I can tell, wall rides aren't possible in this game. Nollies are triggered by pressing up twice before an ollie, while ground tricks like the No Comply and Boneless use their own 3-button combinations. There are no upgradable stats, and instead of a special meter which unlocks special tricks, you fill a possessed meter as you land tricks. Once full, your skater glows and gains max stats for a short burst. This reminded me of going Super Saiyan in Dragon Ball Z, making the game's tech lines easier to string together. The meter drains completely when you bail, but it can be sustained through constant tricks. Controls generally feel solid, though certain inputs sometimes didn't register. For example, pressing up to exit a bowl or halfpipe occasionally failed, trapping me inside, which ate into the time limit. and moves like the cry stare, which are left-right circle on the controller, occasionally triggered the wrong grab. It didn't happen often, but when it did, it was frustrating. The camera can also get away from you, occasionally sticking to the side of your skater instead of centering behind them. If you've played Grind Session recently, or remember these things happening back in the day when you played it, let me know in the comments if they happened to you too. The game puts a strong emphasis on technical skateboarding, chaining multiple tricks across intricate, colour-coded tech lines, with each colour representing its difficulty. These lines appear in every one of the 8 levels, and can be scouted using the skater's eye by holding L2, which pauses the timer and lets you pan around. You can also activate it mid-run with R2, though the timer keeps ticking along. Completing each line in sequence contributes to one of the objectives within that level, which I'll touch on shortly. Like most skateboarding games of the era, Grind Session opens with a high-energy skate montage, this one being set to Rise Above by Black Flag, before dropping you into the main menu after selecting your language. One player houses the core modes, including training, a large warehouse to learn the basics and unlock boards for each pro, tournament, which is essentially career mode, open skate, which is free skate on unlocked levels, and endurance, where you perform on-screen trick challenges within a time limit. I spent most of my time in tournament, completing runs with both a custom skater and one of the 6 pros available, vert skating and snowboard legend Cara Beth Burnside, who also happens to be the first female skater to appear on the cover of Thrasher magazine back in 1989. Other selectable pros include Willie Santos, Daewon Song, John Cardiel, Stephen Pigpen Spear, and Ed Templeton, each with short bios which are very nice to read. After choosing your pro or custom skater, you pick a board and set your trucks to tight or loose. Pros start with set trick lists, while with custom skaters you select 10 starting tricks that suit your style. Completing objectives unlocks new tricks and gear, and each level features photo shoots that challenge you to hit a target score in a single combo. Completing them unlocks game concept art for custom skaters and action shots for the pros, which is a nice touch. Non-competition levels contain 4 main objectives: reaching high score and pro score targets, knocking over or destroying a set number of specific props like boom boxes and gas valves, and completing tech lines. You can also earn bonus points called Vandal points by knocking over or breaking other level assets, such as windows and ceiling lights. You'll also find leaderboards for each stage, which was a staple of the era, and a replay of your last run. Competition levels are comprised of 3 events: Street Course, where you score as many points as possible within a time limit; Vertical Challenge, where points are solely awarded for half-pipe and bowl tricks; and Best Trick, which gives you one shot at getting the highest combo score you can. Competition tech lines only increase your time limit, unlike main levels. Completing objectives earn respect points, which unlock new levels once you hit certain thresholds. Runs last 90 seconds, which are a bit shorter than Tony Hawk's 2-minute timer, but finishing tech lines extends this, usually 5 seconds for easy lines, and up to 20 for the hardest. Unlocking every level and placing at least 3rd in the final competition rolls the credits, followed by an in-game cutscene of a limo ride to your new dream house with a brand new pickup truck in the driveway. Dream House is the game's bonus level, which I'll cover soon. Completing photo shoots with pros unlocks secret characters unique to each one. Finishing with Cara Beth, for example, unlocks an animated hangman stick figure. Other characters include a robot named Skator, a dinosaur-like Rex, and even a demon. Finishing the full Dreamhouse quest unlocks Master Ao, a skater with max stats. Visually, Grind Session looks impressive for a PS1 game. Each level has a distinct look and surprisingly fluid layout, and the design flows together in a way that still feels satisfying today. Thanks for still being here with me. I've made retrospectives on other classic games like this one, so if you wish to see more videos like this, as well as gaming video essays, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos. Up next is Grind Session's level design. Grind Session offers 9 levels, 6 main, 2 competition, and 1 bonus, the Dream House that I mentioned earlier. For the main levels, you start at Brooklyn Banks in New York, before making your way through other real-world spots like San Francisco Mission, Burnside, Atlanta, London, and Detroit. Competition levels, or tracks as the game calls them, include Slam City Jam in Canada and Huntington, the final stage in the game. Many of these areas are found in other skateboarding games of the era, as well as throughout the Tony Hawk series, and it's nice to see Shaba's interpretation of some of them. Each level offers secret and high-up spots that hold a few of the objects and tech lines required to progress. There weren't really any levels that I disliked, and I felt that each one had its own quirks which made them stand out. I especially enjoyed skating in Shaba's version of Burnside, a real-life spot made famous in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, but expanded with a couple of extra sections. Slam City Jam and Huntington are both terrific competition levels, with a nice mix of street and vert assets across wide open layouts. I feel that Shaba did a great job in this regard, considering this was their first game, and they nailed the flow and structure for each level. However, the same can't be said about Dream House, the bonus level comprised of 8 large rooms across the east and west wings of the home, each requiring keys to access. Completing a level to 100% and finishing first in competitions grants you a room key, with each room containing a token. Collecting all the East Wing tokens summons Master Ao, who opens the West Wing, and finishing the West Wing unlocks him as a playable character. I like the idea of extending the tournament mode, but the Dream House itself feels flat and uninspired, and at the time of recording, I wasn't motivated enough to grind out every objective to unlock it all, but maybe I'll do it one day. Overall, the level design is excellent, and the game's other features and soundtrack round out what feels like a complete early 2000s skateboarding package. As well as the one-player options, multiplayer modes include Versus, Team Play, Competition, Tech Challenge, SKATE, and Endurance. The options menu shows high scores, adjusts sound and music levels, and lets you toggle vibration and the balance meter on or off. There's also a bonus screen where you can view unlocked photos, videos, and gear, as well as a controls menu if you want to revisit or remap inputs. The soundtrack is small but killer in my opinion, comprised of 11 tracks spanning hip-hop, punk, and alt-rock. Standouts for me include Rise Above by Black Flag, Linoleum by NoFX, and JU by Jurassic 5. One nice detail that sets Grind Session apart from other skateboarding games of the time is how the artist and track name appear on screen before your run starts. It's a small but stylish touch, in an era where you usually had to dig through the options menu to find out what song was playing. The sound design complements everything else well, like the rumble of wheels on concrete, the clack of grinds, and the feedback from bales, which all feel authentic and satisfying. Grind Session may not have reinvented the wheel, but it absolutely nailed the fundamentals. Overall, Grind Session is an excellent game that deserves more credit than being remembered as just a Tony Hawk clone. While it's been forgotten by many, it stood as a worthy entry in a genre that was just finding its footing. The game was one that helped shape the golden era of skateboarding games that soon followed. Looking back at the golden age of skateboarding and even extreme sports games in general, Grind Session rarely makes mainstream conversation, and that's a shame. It may not have sold millions of copies or spawned any sequels, but it captured a genuine moment in time when the genre was still finding its identity. Shaba Games managed to create something that felt stylish and mechanically tight, all within the constraints of this being their first project. In hindsight, it's easy to label Grind Session as a Tony Hawk clone, but this doesn't tell the full story. Unique mechanics like tech lines and the possessed meter, and its focus on technical flow, gave it a different rhythm, one that rewarded precision over chaos. It stood as proof that the skateboarding genre had room for interpretation, and that there were multiple ways to express the culture, not just one. Unfortunately, being released just months after Tony Hawk's Pro Skater meant it was destined to be overshadowed. But even so, Shaba would go on to leave their fingerprints all over the extreme sports genre, from Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX to the handheld Tony Hawk's Underground 2 remix. Their work helped define what a console skateboarding game should feel like in terms of grounded and satisfying gameplay. Today, Grind Session stands out as one of the PS1's great hidden gems, a bold attempt by Sony to enter the scene, combined with a glimpse of Shaba's potential. It's a reminder of how creatively fertile the turn of the millennium really was for extreme sports games. For me, revisiting it after so many years felt like reconnecting with an overlooked part of that era's DNA, one that deserves a little more respect than history gave it. Thanks so much for watching. What are your memories of Grind Session? Did you give it a miss because of Tony Hawk, or did this capture you when it was released? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on upcoming content. And while I'm not able to buy Grind Session for PC as it was a PlayStation exclusive, I can still buy other PC games from Fanatical. They offer officially licensed Steam keys, often with serious discounts. So if you're planning to grab your next PC game or bundle, consider using my affiliate link in the video description. It won't cost you anything extra, and it directly supports the channel so I can keep making videos like this. Thank you as always for your support. Thank you also to my current channel members for supporting me further. There are links to this and my Ko-fi donation page in the video description. My name is OneHip, and you have a good one. Bye!